Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Nice to meet you all. My name is Dylan, and I will be your film operator today. Today I'm going to be showing you a film called Astronaut, which goes over the training that astronauts take before they head up into space. But before I do that, I do have two rules that I must go over. First and foremost, when I dim down the lights, make sure you don't stand up and walk around. It's very easy to trip and fall, and I don't want people getting hurt in here. And secondly, because there's multiple people, try to keep the talking to a minimum so that you don't disturb the people around you. So, with that out of the way, we can go ahead and begin. If you have any questions or issues, feel free to let me know. I'll be sitting right back here. So, hope you all enjoy. Give me 1 second.
It's early.
Yeah, even the computer's a little tired.
Yeah.
There.
Oh.
The Omnisphere Theater, complete with the most advanced full-dome video projection system available, is online and ready for show commencement.
Thank you, computer. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Columbus State University's Coca-Cola Space Science Center. We have
My 10,000 watt sound system, capable of 5.1 surround sound, is also online and ready.
Okay, excellent. Before our presentation, we have...
Did you know I am also capable of interactive audience participation via my armrest units?
Yes, good point. So, as I was saying, before our presentation...
I am also capable of displaying objects in real time.
Yes, another good point. So, as I was saying...
Did you know that there are only a few other planetariums like me in the world?
Yeah, that's really something.
Do you know how lucky Columbus is to have me? Mute on.
Okay, as I was saying, before our presentation, we have just a few theater rules for your safety. It gets very dark, so please remain seated during the show. If you must leave for an emergency, you may exit out either door, but the doors will lock behind you. And due to safety considerations, you will not be readmitted. Also, there is no flash photography allowed, and please turn off your cell phones. So, with that said, enjoy the show, everyone.
Mute off. Commencing show in 8.75 seconds.
Computers now have control over different functions.
2 minutes, 20 seconds. 2 minutes, 15. 2 minutes, 10, 9, 8. Go for engine start.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Stand anywhere on the Earth, and space is never more than a mere 100 kilometers away. At this distance, you are beyond Earth's atmosphere and are officially an astronaut. 100 kilometers. That's less than some people commute to work each day. And yet just 50 years ago, this distance was out of reach. Decades of research and development into spacecraft has allowed us, for the first time in the history of the human race, to leave our planet and explore what is beyond. Technology has given us the tools to break free of gravity and journey beyond our world. But what about the people involved? What does it take to be part of these incredible journeys? What does it take to become an astronaut? Before anyone can become an astronaut, years of mental and physical training must be completed. The long process of developing the skills needed begins much closer to the ground, in fact, underwater. This is a neutral buoyancy training tank, a very deep swimming pool filled with underwater versions of spacecraft and robots. Neutral buoyancy is a state where an object neither sinks or floats. Using a combination of weights and flotation devices, the astronauts are suspended in a kind of underwater weightlessness. To replicate the conditions of an actual mission, real spacesuits are used. Bulky and cumbersome, these suits provide limited mobility and prevent any tactile contact. Getting used to these restrictions allows astronauts to prepare for the complex tasks required in the harsh conditions and microgravity of space. But to truly simulate weightlessness and experience its effects on the human mind and body, we need to head upwards. This is the KC-135 microgravity training aircraft, or the Vomit Comet, as it's affectionately known. To simulate a near zero gravity environment on Earth, we have to counteract the gravitational forces that keep us on the ground. The Vomit Comet achieves this by climbing to high altitudes and then diving back to Earth in an increasingly steep curve called a parabola. In the midst of this free fall, the aircraft matches the speed at which gravity is trying to force it back down to Earth, and a period of weightlessness is achieved. This is similar to the effect you feel when you drive too quickly over a humpback bridge. Imagine if that brief sensation lasted for 20 seconds instead of 1, and it's not hard to see why the Vomit Comet got its name. A lack of gravity is not the only scenario astronauts have to train for. During a launch into space and re-entry, they are subjected to many times the gravitational forces of those here on Earth. Like a huge centrifuge, the capsule on the end of this arm is gradually accelerated up to speed. The faster the arm rotates, the more forces of gravity, or G-forces, are produced. In a typical launch, an astronaut will experience approximately 3 times the amount of gravity that we are used to on Earth. If you have ever been on a roller coaster at an amusement park, you have probably already experienced close to 3G, but only for the briefest of moments. During a launch, astronauts have to endure these forces for 8 crushing minutes. If the G-forces are raised higher, then greater problems can arise. Exposure for more than a few seconds around 6G can cause vision to blur and narrow, and eventually you black out. With training complete, you are finally ready to launch into the hostile environment of space and perform the tasks of an astronaut. With no air to breathe and temperatures that range from freezing to boiling, astronauts must wear specially designed suits that protect them from these extremes. Underneath these suits is a complex network of pipes which continually pump hot and cold water over the surface of the skin, regulating body temperature. The suit also acts as a mini pressure environment that supplies oxygen and protects against the vacuum of space. Spacesuits can protect astronauts from the external effects of space, but what about the internal effects? Humans have evolved over millions of years to be best suited to conditions here on Earth. In the sudden absence of gravity, the body starts to adapt. An immediate result of this adaptation is a condition similar to seasickness. Inside the inner ear, there are thousands of little hairs and small crystals called otoliths. Their function is to constantly update the brain as to which way is up. But without gravity, there is no up or down. This confusion between what their eyes see and what their body feels results in almost 2/3 of astronauts being ill. This space nausea can last up to 3 days until the astronauts get their space legs. Also within this time period, the cardiovascular system is affected. On Earth, gravity forces blood to pool in the feet. Without gravity's help, blood and fluids pool in the chest, and this causes the heart to swell and pump slower. As more time is spent in space, the body has less need for dense bones and heavy muscles. On Earth, the skeleton is for support, protection, and locomotion. Strong, dense bones are essential to prevent injury. Microgravity reduces the demands placed on the skeleton. As a result, bone density is slowly reduced. The porous structure of the bone becomes thinner as the calcium literally fizzes away. For every month spent in space, up to 2% of bone density can be lost. As a result, bones become brittle, similar to the effects of osteoporosis. Muscle loss also occurs in space. Without the need to constantly overcome the forces of gravity, the demands on the muscles are much lower. To combat bone and muscle loss and prevent any long-term effects on return to Earth, astronauts must exercise every day in specially designed space gymnasiums. Microgravity and its effects on the human body aren't the only obstacles to overcome. Greater and more immediate dangers lurk in space. This is Chad, our test subject. Chad has been volunteered to demonstrate just how dangerous space really is. Space is a vacuum, which means there is no air. And when there is no air, Chad will not be able to breathe. If by some accident Chad is detached from his spacecraft, then he could drift away and never be seen again. If Chad's suit is torn or punctured whilst in space, his career as an astronaut would soon be over. It is incredibly cold in space, around minus 150 degrees Celsius. Without a specially designed suit, Chad would freeze solid in seconds. Space is mostly empty. However, there are some objects out there that Chad needs to look out for. Micrometeoroids are tiny rocks speeding through space. They are too small to be detected and difficult to avoid. Larger meteors are also hurtling through the solar system. However, their size makes them easier to detect and avoid. Almost everything that has ever been launched into space is still out there. There are nearly 4 million individual pieces of space junk orbiting the Earth. As well as heat, the sun emits electromagnetic radiation, just like a microwave oven. On Earth, our atmosphere filters out these harmful rays. Suntan lotion, sunglasses, and a hat are all you need. However, in space, without the protection of a real spacesuit, Chad would quite literally cook. A more sinister type of radiation comes from deep space, in the form of cosmic rays. These cannot be avoided or shielded against, and are capable of mutating or destroying DNA. However, the most dangerous place for an astronaut isn't in space at all, but right here on Earth. More injuries and fatalities have been caused on the launch pad or shortly after blastoff than at any other time. In the beginning of the space age, astronauts spent relatively short periods of time in space. Missions were brief, typically lasting no more than a few days. The construction of space stations means much longer can now be spent living and working in space. But what do astronauts do once they are in space, and how do they cope with day-to-day life in this unique environment? Everyday tasks that we take for granted on Earth become much more difficult. This is how water behaves in space. Imagine trying to take a shower or use the toilet when liquids just float away. A major part of an astronaut's job is to perform scientific experiments and conduct research. Microgravity provides the opportunity to study science in a way that is impossible on Earth. Keeping fit is vital for an astronaut's health. They have to exercise for at least 2.5 hours every day to minimize the long-term effects of being in space. It is essential that regular maintenance and upgrades are performed to preserve the fragile environment of the space station. The smallest problem can very easily become a life-threatening situation. The knowledge we have gained through space exploration in the last few decades alone has had an immense impact on all of our lives. Instant global communication, advanced materials, and computer technology are just some of the tangible byproducts of the space age. Each step further out into space we take alters our perception of what is possible. The exploration of space extends across borders and serves to unite us all in a single common goal of discovery. How different would our lives be today if our ancestors had not embraced such challenges and ventured out into the unknown? Exploration has always been a dangerous and high-risk enterprise. The passion to explore has driven humankind throughout history to discover new frontiers. With this spirit, explorers have always had a relationship with the stars. They have been their constant companions, always present and unreachable. Once they guided sailors across vast oceans in their search for earthbound new worlds. But what will the future hold for the pioneers of tomorrow? Will our desire to constantly reach out into the unknown allow us one day not just to look up at the stars, but to travel amongst them?
Alright everyone, that concludes our show. If you guys want to have a few minutes for me, that would be fantastic.
Okay, Muskogee County 6th grade. Y'all are, time for y'all to go outside for lunch. Turn in your clipboards and your pencils and your scavenger hunt papers to your teacher. And grab your lunch and head outside. Turn your clipboards and pencils back over here where you got them. And then it's time for your lunch. Where you got them?
We didn't have one. Did you have a pencil?
Your lunch, milk.
It's time for lunch.
Lunch and milk.
It's time for lunch. We got the stuff in the answers.
No, son, y'all cheating. No, not son, y'all cheating. Oh, no, y'all cheating for kids.
We got 5. No, we're not cheating. Shut it up. Don't let them. Get out here, wave.
Oh, excuse me.
How much y'all got? We got 8. Y'all got 3.
I know her from,
3. I only got one of those last year. No, we only over here.
No, 3 was Frank. Good job. No, they were 3 here. We had 6 weekdays. And moved 4 other off their days to other days. Swap. Smile away, boys. Smile away.
And I took all the money last week.
Almost done with my compliance. One more to go out 4. You got it, boss. Bring me back your leftover. Hey, how are y'all? Who you got? One of those? I'm sorry? Oh, okay. 2 adults? How old are you? 75. All right, total is $20 each. That does include everything, all the shows in the planetarium, as well as all the simulators, artifacts, displays, everything will be out. All the shows are in the theater behind you. The next show is at 12 noon. We'll start seeing you at 5:10. We will make an announcement on the PA system this time we go in. Show operator. In the meantime, you have access. Just hang out, work out, explore. You go around inside, there's a bar rover, there's a small children's area, there's like green screen, meteorites, robot over there, plasma.
so sorry. That was just right.
Bodies in motion as a whole, zero G. Everything's going its own direction, except its own velocity. So you're surrounded in space with all kinds of bodies. It's incredible. Zero G in space.
And attention all personnel, this is D.Greene conducting the launch status check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC. OTC is built. TBC. Action booster go. TTC. TTC is built. LPS. LPS is go. Houston flight.
Houston flight, if you call me at the end, I would appreciate it. Stand by.
Yes, sir, we'll call you later. Pilot. Pilot, go. STM. STM is go. Safety console. Safety console is go. SPE. SPE is go. LRD. LRD is go. SRO. SRO is go. You have a range clear to launch. Okay, well, we're starting to feel pretty good down here on the ground about this one today. So on behalf of the greatest team in the world, good luck to you and your crew on the flight of the true American icon.
At INS, this OTC, this day has been over 30 years in the making. There have been many fabulous missions throughout the years. On behalf of KSC launch teams, past and present, we salute the entire astronaut corps for their dedication, not only for our expanded knowledge of the universe, but for the improvements you have contributed to on Earth. Have an excellent mission and Godspeed.
Hi, and welcome to the Space Shuttle Odyssey here at Columbus State University's Coca-Cola Space Science Center. I'm Dr. Sean Cruzen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Space Science Center. You know, astronauts train for years in order to get a chance to go into outer space, and now it's your turn to get a feel for what that's like. You are sitting in a multi-seat module inside the payload bay of a modified Odyssey-class space shuttle. Your mission will be to blast off into space and dock with the International Space Station. Some of you will be continuing on to Mars, which is very exciting. Others will get a chance to catch a ride to the moon. The rest of you will be staying on station to perform some very important experiments in microgravity. Your mission commander, David Lawrence, is in the cockpit and ready to go. Commander Lawrence, your new recruits are ready.
Thank you, Dr. Cruzen. All systems are go.
Oh, I almost forgot. Certain system controls can be routed to your armrest buttons if needed. Commander Lawrence may need you to push one of those buttons, so be sure and pay attention in case anything goes wrong. But I'm sure nothing will go wrong. So this is where I leave you. Have a great trip. Commander Lawrence, they're all yours.
Thanks again, Dr. Cruzen. Hello, crew, and welcome aboard. My name is David Lawrence, and with me up here on the flight deck is pilots Scott Norman, Chris Johnson, and Lance Tankersley. We're all excited to have you aboard and looking forward to a great flight. The external tank, which is the large orange fuel tank that we're currently attached to, has been filled to its flight load of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen propellants. Also, the 2 white solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, have been armed. This is where we'll get most of our power. And when they light, we are going somewhere because there's no turning them off. Before we get started, we need you to activate your vitals transmission by pushing the red, green, and blue buttons so we can monitor your temperature, respiration, and heart rate. I'll activate them now. Go ahead and push all 3 buttons. All right, looking good.
Space Shuttle Odyssey, this is Mission Control Houston here. Are you ready for T-minus 10-second countdown?
Houston, this is Space Shuttle Odyssey here. My crew and I are ready.
Okay, Odyssey, sound suppression watering system activated.
See all that water? It comes from that water tower and acts as a sound suppression system, so the shuttle and launch pad don't get damaged by the sound energy reflecting off of the launch pad.
T-minus 10.
Okay, crew, here we go.
9,
Hold on.
8. Go for main engine start. 5, 4.
There goes the SRBs. Here we go.
1. And lift off. Of Space Shuttle Odyssey. Carrying its precious crew to the United States.
SRB separation.
Copy that.
Crew, these SRBs will fall back to Earth and will be reused. Roger, Houston. Crew, stand by for main engine cutoff. Houston, MECO complete.
Copy that, Odyssey. Stand by for ET separation.
Houston, ET separation complete.
Copy that.
That external tank will burn up in the atmosphere. We are too high in altitude for it to return to Earth. Crew, welcome to space. maneuvering to ISS.
Copy that, IC.
Houston, ISS coming into view.
Copy.
Hey there, Odyssey. This is Sally from the ISS. We can see you coming in and you're looking good. Right on track.
Hey, Sally, great to hear. I've got a great crew here and we're looking forward to coming aboard. Houston, ISS, stand by for contact.
Looking good, Odyssey. You're right on track.
6 inches. 3, 2, 1.
Houston and ISS, contact. Capture confirmed.
Copy that. Great job, Odyssey.
Copy that. Great job, David. And to you and your crew, welcome to the ISS.
Thanks, Sally. Glad to be back. Crew, welcome to the ISS. We are currently traveling at 17,100 miles per hour at an altitude of 249 miles. For those of you going on to Mars or the Moon, have a safe flight. Prepare to disembark. Stand by, crew. Houston, we have an alarm on, looks like hydrogen fuel cell failure. I repeat, hydrogen fuel cell failure, and also losing cabin pressure. Possible micrometeoroid. Sally, can you see anything from your perspective?
Yes, David. We can see a little debris coming from just below your entrance hatch. I think you're right. Possible micrometeoroid.
Odyssey, Houston here. We see your cabin levels and we need you to abort. I repeat, abort. Detach, detach, detach. I repeat, detach. And return to Earth. Do you copy?
Copy that, Houston. Sally, stand by for detach.
Odyssey, Houston here. Your nearest landing site is Kennedy Space Center, runway 15. Good luck.
Thanks, Houston. Crew, I need you to close the overhead spine portals while I maneuver for re-entry. I'll reroute control to your armrest. On the count of 3, I need you all to push the green button when it's armed. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Push the green button. Great job. Now, hang on tight. We're going to be coming in pretty fast, so it may get a little bumpy. Houston, initiating deorbit burn.
Copy that.
Coming into Earth's atmosphere now. This is where things start to really heat up. We're at Mach 15.6 at the outside of our shuttle, about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's where the tiles on the outside come in. They absorb all this heat and protect us. Let's hope that micrometeoroid damage isn't too bad. We are through the cloud layer and we can see land, but we're still not out of it yet. The shuttle was designed to land with no power, so basically we are a glider now. We only have one chance to land. We'll be coming in at 226 miles per hour, 20 times faster and 7 times steeper than a commercial airliner. It'll look like we're headed right for the ground.
Odyssey, we have a visual.
Copy that. Runway in sight. Houston, stand by for landing gear.
Copy that.
Crew, we have a landing gear malfunction. each of the 3 landing gears, and I need all of you to push the red button to explode each bolt in the 3 landing gears. This will release that unlock hook to get that landing gear down. Okay, everybody, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Push the red button. It's gonna be close. Great job, crew. Just in time. Brace for touchdown. Houston, Space Shuttle Odyssey touchdown.
Roger that, Odyssey. And welcome home.
Thanks, Houston. And thanks to my crew. Great job, everyone.
Well, welcome back, everyone. See, I told you nothing would go wrong, but that was a close call. You know, astronauts go through years of training in simulators to deal with all kinds of emergencies. This way, they're prepared when something goes wrong. Well, I hope you enjoyed your experience and enjoy the rest of your stay here at Columbus State University's Coca-Cola Space Science Center.
Right here.
Which of the songs?
Look at yourself on Mars. Go on the green screen. There you are, you made it to the moon.
Now I'm walking on the moon.
Oh, now you're on Mars.
How can you see? Is there a one-on-one monitor? There's a delay in the video, so it looks like this.
Where'd you go, buddy? Get in there. There you are. Peanuts on the moon. Oh, now she's up an astronaut. Let's go to what? Oh! Get the flag, Violet. Get the flag. Go get the flag. There's a rover. You got the flag. Get one away. Oh, no, you got some more.
And we're calling this space shuttle. Technically, the whole thing is space shuttle. This is the space shuttle orbiter. Okay? This is the part that actually orbits the Earth. Now, on the orbiter, this piece right here is going to be This is called a delta ring. Delta, from the Greek letter delta, which is the triangle, 4 people letter E. Fire zone. It's delta. Alright? When you see an aircraft, when you think of flying aircraft with a delta wing, that means that it flies at supersonic speed. And when you fly a jet, their wings look a little bit different. How does that work? That's because they're trying to fly a lot faster. And it's actually
Martina Tereshkova prepared herself to fly aboard the last Vostok mission on June 16, 1963. Although by now manned flight seemed almost commonplace, Tereshkova's mission was unique. Picked to fly the two-man Gemini, devised to rehearse complex space operations around Earth before Apollo was ready. Spacewalking, rendezvous and docking, long-duration flight. Gemini was a testing ground for new and exotic techniques essential to the prime task of getting men on the moon. As a training tool, it was a glittering success. It was the most successful period so far, when American spacemen outpaced every Soviet achievement to date. Aboard the first, Virgil Grissom, veteran of an early Mercury shot, and John Young. Their rocket, a might.
It is the mechanized triumph of the modern world, our pyramid of the 20th century, the largest and most powerful machine ever built, a rocket which has never before flown a man. Frank Borman.
I think it weighed almost 7 million pounds, 28 million pounds. And finding out on it at that particular December day was a cold day. And it was a sobering experience, totally quiet. Every other time we'd been around that vehicle, there'd been hundreds of people, but today it was fully loaded. And I think it had an explosive equivalent about equal to a small atom bomb.
The engines roar like a million claps of thunder, an unearthly sound that is felt. America launches its first space station in 1973, but within 1 minute of clearing the tower, telemetry signals show that something has gone wrong. In orbit, but underpowered and overheating, Skylab is in serious trouble. 11 days later, Pete Conrad, Joseph Kerwin, and Paul Weitz rendezvous with the space station. A fly-around inspection confirms the damage. The lab's protective shield is gone. One solar panel is partially deployed, the other is missing.
June 19th, 1976. The first Viking arrived in the vicinity of Mars after a year-long journey of more than 400 million miles. Once in orbit, its cameras were turned to a detailed examination of the landing area. Imaging teams on Earth scanned some 800 photographs covering a territory about the size of Texas. The chosen landing site was a flat expanse with a few impact craters, one of the lowest regions on the surface.
In its early years, gunpowder was used mostly for entertainment. They designed spectacular fireworks, almost the same as we use on the 4th of July today. But could this expertise be turned to use in battle? Could the Chinese adapt their rocket technology and create self-propelled weapons of war?
Under the Song Dynasty,
on October 4th, 1957, Russia orbits the first man-made satellite in history, Sputnik. To many Americans, it's a shocking defeat, a Pearl Harbor in space.
It is quite possible that an aggressor nation dominates space, then dominates the world. We just can't let that happen.
Consider the control of space around the Earth not like the great maritime power. Consider the control of the seas in the 16th to the 18th century. And if we want to control this planet, we have to control the seas around it.
On April 12, 1961, the Russians put the first man in space. Yuri Gagarin. It's the worst defeat for America's space program since Sputnik. And it puts the pressure on a young president who's only been in office 12 weeks.
General purpose. Computer. Very, it's a computer. Does that look like a computer? No. No, it doesn't, does it? No. Well, it is a computer. Don't touch. It is a computer, though. In fact, that was a computer that was on the space shuttle. It helped fly the space shuttle. It calculated what we call orbital mechanics. Right? So that's the mechanics, the flight of the space shuttle orbiting the Earth. Okay? Now, we need to use a computer for that because what do you think orbital mechanics takes a lot of? It takes a lot of math. A lot of math. The computers are very good at doing what? Math. They do it much faster and much more accurately than humans do. Right? In fact, that statement's actually a little bit misleading. All a computer does is math. Computers, you guys lean back for me, don't lean so far forward. Thank you. All a computer does is math. It doesn't do anything but math. When you're at home playing Fortnite, that's the only reason you can do that is because your game machine is doing math. Your Xbox, your PlayStation, your computer, wherever it may be, is doing math, and that's what's allowing you to play that game. If you think math's not important, you're wrong. All right, now, this is from the space shuttle. How to fly the space shuttle. This is my old phone. All right? I want you guys, this is a computer as well, right? You know, all electronics are all computers, right? I want you to
Hurry, Riley, I mean it.
most advanced. Oh, or the space shuttle. Let's say it can't go. We'll get more than the other. All right. So let's put in the phone. Why the phone? You don't know? Any reason why the phone? Very little, isn't it? Well, actually, the components in here are far more advanced than the ones in that computer. So my phone is actually much more advanced than that computer. The reason is that, one, my space shuttle flight was in 2011, so that box, they haven't updated any of that since 2011. So they don't know space shuttle. The other reason is that the components in that box are actually about 10 years older than that. The components in that box were new and around the year 2000. A lot of these 10-year-old components on the space shuttle, right? Does anyone remember what happened to the Galaxy Note 7? You guys might not remember the name. You remember hearing about a phone that was exploding? You remember hearing about a Galaxy phone that was blowing up and they had to have a recall with all that candle catching fire and blow up? You guys remember that, right? Well, that's because they hadn't had enough time to actually test the phone and make sure that
so much easier. Man, so much easier. How y'all doing? Y'all are having too much fun. Whoa. My God.
Thank you.